The royal world of Etherian glowed beneath twin suns. Its towers shone like silver spears, and crystal bridges crossed over calm blue rivers. The people of Etherian were tall, graceful, and proud. They believed themselves to be one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. To them, the arrival of a delegation from a small planet called Earth was nothing more than a formality. The humans had come for peace talks and trade. They were not strong in technology compared to Etherian, but they had something else, courage and curiosity. Among the human visitors was a man named Elias Ward. He was not a soldier or a nobleman. He was an engineer, quiet and thoughtful, with eyes that noticed small things others ignored. Most of the aliens did not pay much attention to him. To them, humans were strange creatures, too emotional, too reckless, and too fragile. But fate had other plans. Princess Lysera Valora, daughter of the mighty queen of Etherian, watched the humans from the balcony of her chamber. She had seen hundreds of alien races visit her world, but the humans were different. They smiled even when surrounded by stronger species. They spoke politely yet carried a quiet confidence. And among them, the one who caught her eye was the man who spoke the least, Elias. He was not handsome by Etherian standards, but there was something peaceful about his presence. He did not seem afraid or proud. He simply worked, always busy with machines, fixing small devices that Etherian engineers considered useless to repair. When asked why he bothered, Elias only said, "Because everything deserves a chance to work again." Lysera found herself thinking about those words long after he left the room. The next day, during a royal demonstration, one of the palace's energy conduits malfunctioned. Etherian engineers argued over the cause, each blaming another. Sparks flew, lights flickered, and the royal court began to panic. If the conduit failed, part of the palace would lose power for days. Before anyone could act, Elias stepped forward. "Permission to assist?" he asked the chief engineer. The alien frowned. "You, a human? Our systems are too complex for your kind." Elias smiled gently. "Maybe, but it's worth a try." The queen was not present, but her daughter was. From her golden seat, Lysera gave a small nod. "Let him try," she said softly. Elias opened a small toolkit, his hands steady. He didn't rush. He studied the glowing wires, listened to the hum of energy, and began adjusting small pieces that no one else had noticed. 10 minutes later, the lights brightened and the system stabilized. Silence filled the hall. Then applause followed, not from the engineers, but from the guards and servants who had watched in awe. Lysera smiled, her silver eyes full of surprise and respect. One of the nobles whispered, "Impossible. A human repaired royal technology." Another muttered, "He must have guessed." But Lysera said clearly, "He did not guess." He understood. Elias bowed slightly. "Just a simple problem, Your Highness. I'm glad it's fixed." That night, stories spread across the palace. Some said the human was lucky. Others said he was gifted. But Lysera could not stop thinking about his calm face and the way he worked, without arrogance, without fear. Later that evening, the princess walked quietly through the service corridors. She was supposed to attend a dinner with the royal advisors, but her mind was elsewhere. She followed the sound of faint humming and found herself outside a small workshop near the docking bay. Through the open door, she saw Elias again, working under dim light, repairing a damaged drone. He didn't notice her at first. His jacket was off, sleeves rolled up, hands stained with oil. He worked carefully, humming a tune she didn't recognize. "Humans hum when they work?" she asked softly, stepping into the room. Elias turned quickly, startled. "Your Highness." Sorry, I didn't hear you." Lysera smiled faintly. "You do not need to bow. I came to see what you were doing." "It's an old maintenance drone," he said. "I found it in the scrap pile. Thought I could fix it." She tilted her head. "Why fix something no one needs?" Elias shrugged. "Because it deserves another chance." The same words again. Lysera looked at the little drone. Its lights flickered weakly. "In our world, we discard what is broken. It is easier to replace than repair." He smiled gently. "Maybe, but sometimes fixing something broken can teach us more than building something new." She watched him for a moment. His eyes were focused, his hands precise. He worked with care and patience, like he respected the machine itself. Something stirred inside her chest, a strange warmth she could not explain. They talked for a while. She asked about Earth, about how humans lived. He told her of green forests, blue oceans, and storms that sang across the sky. She listened in silence, imagining a world full of color and sound so different from the perfect but silent beauty of Etherian. When the drone finally came to life, buzzing weakly, Lysera laughed. The sound startled even her. It had been so long since she had truly laughed. "You did it," she said. Elias smiled. "Told you it deserved a chance." She looked at him, her silver eyes soft. "You are different, Elias Ward," he chuckled. "That's what everyone tells me." For a moment, the workshop felt peaceful, like two worlds had found a quiet bridge between them. Then the door opened suddenly and a royal guard appeared. "Princess, you should not be here. The Queen is asking for you." Lysera straightened, her calm royal face returning. "Tell her I will come soon." The guard frowned at Elias but said nothing. When he left, she turned back to Elias and said quietly, "They will not understand you. Be careful." He nodded. "I will. And thank you for trusting me, Your Highness." She hesitated, then said softly, "Call me Lysera when we are alone." Elias blinked, unsure if he had heard her right. "I understand, Lysera." Her lips curved into a small smile before she left the room, her long silver robe whispering behind her. The next morning, the palace buzzed with rumors. Servants whispered that the princess had spoken kindly to the human. Advisors whispered to the Queen about strange behavior, but Lysera ignored them. She attended meetings as usual, her expression calm, though her thoughts were elsewhere. In the days that followed, she found small reasons to visit the engineering wing. Sometimes she claimed she wanted to inspect progress. Sometimes she said she was learning about human technology. But the truth was simpler. She wanted to see him again. Each time, Elias treated her with the same respect, never fear. He explained things patiently, showed her small inventions, and even shared stories from Earth. Lysera listened, fascinated by the simplicity of human life. Their bond grew slowly, quietly, like a seed hidden under starlight. But in a palace full of eyes, nothing stayed hidden for long. One evening, while Lysera watched a human holographic image of Earth's oceans, her mother entered her chamber. Queen Valora was a tall and commanding figure, her silver crown glowing faintly. "You seem distracted, my daughter," she said. "Is something troubling you?" Lysera turned off the hologram quickly. "Nothing, mother. Just studying the human's world." The Queen raised an eyebrow. "Studying or admiring?" Lysera felt her heart skip, but she kept her voice calm. "They are different, that is all." "Different," the Queen repeated softly. "Yes, weak, short-lived, and emotional. Be careful, my daughter. Their kind may seem charming, but they are unpredictable." Lysera bowed her head. "I understand," but deep inside she did not agree. She had seen something powerful in Elias, something no one else saw. It was not weakness. It was kindness. And she was beginning to realize that kindness could be stronger than pride. That night, as she stood on her balcony, the stars of Etherian glittered across the dark sky. Somewhere beyond them, Elias worked in his small workshop, repairing machines and humming to himself. Lysera touched the pendant on her neck, a gift from her mother long ago. "Humans," she whispered. "So fragile, yet so strong." She didn't know yet how much those words would change her destiny. That night marked the beginning of something forbidden and something beautiful. Days passed quietly after the energy conduit incident, but the peace was only on the surface. Inside the grand palace of Etherian, whispers began to spread like wind through marble halls. The servants talked softly as they cleaned. The guards spoke in low voices near their posts. The courtiers traded rumors behind jeweled fans. All the stories said one thing: the human engineer and the princess were seen together. At first, these were only small comments, things said for amusement. But soon the tone changed. Etherian was a proud world, its royal family was ancient, its bloodline sacred. To think that a human, a being from a young and lesser world, could draw the attention of Princess Lysera Valora was almost unthinkable. Even the Queen herself began to notice changes in her daughter. Queen Valora was not only a ruler, she was a guardian of her people's traditions. Her eyes missed nothing. She noticed the moments when Lysera smiled for no reason. She noticed how her daughter's focus drifted during council meetings. And she noticed how, whenever the humans were mentioned, a faint light appeared in her daughter's eyes. One afternoon, while standing on the balcony overlooking the royal gardens, the Queen turned to her advisor. "Tell me about this human," she said coldly. The advisor bowed deeply. "Elias Ward, Majesty. He is the engineer among the human delegation. Skilled, polite, and quiet." The Queen's silver eyes narrowed. "And why do I hear that my daughter spends time with him?" The advisor hesitated. "It may be curiosity, Majesty. The princess often visits the engineering wing." The Queen looked toward the horizon, her voice calm but sharp. "Curiosity can be dangerous when it touches the heart." In the lower levels of the palace, Elias Ward was busy at work. He had been assigned to assist the Etherian engineers in studying human technology. Most of them ignored him. Some even mocked him softly in their own language, thinking he could not understand. He did not argue. He simply worked. He repaired tools faster than expected. He solved small energy glitches others overlooked. His quiet discipline earned him silent respect from the lower workers, though not from the nobles. But one person always noticed his effort: Princess Lysera. She often visited the workshop, pretending to inspect progress. The guards and workers would bow deeply when she arrived. Elias would straighten and greet her politely. Their conversations were short and public, but full of hidden warmth. One day she brought him a small silver cube. "This is a data crystal," she said. "It holds old songs of Etherian. You may listen when you rest." Elias smiled and accepted it carefully. "Thank you, Princess." She hesitated. "You can still call me Lysera. When we are alone," he smiled faintly. "Then thank you, Lysera." For a moment they just looked at each other. The hum of machines filled the silence between them, but peace in the palace was fragile. During a royal council meeting, one of the noble lords, a proud alien named Lord Reneth, spoke loudly before the Queen. "Majesty, the humans are weak. They bring us nothing new. Why keep them here?" The Queen replied, "They bring us peace, Lord Reneth. That is worth something." He bowed but continued, "Forgive me, Majesty, but your daughter's visits to the human engineer have become noticed." The court went silent. Lysera froze where she stood beside her mother. The Queen's gaze turned toward her daughter, calm but sharp as a blade. "Is this true?" Lysera met her mother's eyes. "I visit him for learning." "Nothing more," Lord Reneth smirked. "Learning? Some call it admiration." The Queen raised her hand sharply. "Enough." The hall fell silent again. But that night the Queen sent secret orders to the guards. "Watch the human. Report everything he does." The next morning Elias noticed strange stares. Guards now followed him wherever he went. The engineers spoke less when he entered a room. Even the servants who once smiled at him now turned away. He said nothing, but Lysera saw the change. That evening she found him sitting on the edge of the garden fountain looking up at the stars. She approached quietly. "They are watching you now, aren't they?" He nodded. "Yes, but it's fine. I expected it." "Why do you not speak against them?" she asked. "You saved lives when the conduit failed. You should be honored," Elias smiled sadly. "On Earth I learned that respect cannot be demanded. It must be earned. Maybe one day they'll see I mean no harm." Lysera sat beside him, her silver gown shining under the starlight. "You should not be treated this way." He looked at her gently. "And you should not risk your name for me." She turned her eyes to the stars. "Do you know why I visit you, Elias?" He hesitated. "Curiosity?" She shook her head slowly. "No, because when I am near you I feel free. You speak to me as if I am not a princess, just a person. No one has ever done that." Elias looked at her, unsure what to say. "Maybe that's because to me you are a person before anything else." Their eyes met. For a long moment the universe seemed silent. Then a sudden alarm echoed through the palace. Red lights flashed across the gardens. The air hummed with danger. "Energy surge in the reactor core," shouted a guard running past. "Emergency level 3. Lysera and Elias stood up quickly. She turned toward the palace, panic in her eyes. "That's the main power grid." Without thinking, Elias grabbed a toolkit from the side bench. "Where is the control chamber?" "You can't go," she said. "It's dangerous." He looked at her with calm determination. "If I don't, hundreds could die." She wanted to stop him, but his tone left no room for argument. Together they ran through the glowing corridors as alarms screamed around them. The control chamber was chaos. Engineers shouted commands, wires sparked, and the heat was unbearable. The energy core was overloading. One wrong move and the palace could explode. Elias pushed through the crowd. Move aside, an Etherian engineer yelled. You don't understand the system. Energy flow is universal, Elias replied firmly. He looked at the monitors, scanned the readings, and then began working, rerouting power manually, using his own small devices to stabilize the circuits. Lizera watched from behind the safety glass, fear in her heart. Sparks burned his sleeve, but he didn't stop. Minutes felt like hours. Then suddenly the alarm stopped. The light steadied. The system stabilized. Silence fell across the chamber. The chief engineer turned slowly toward Elias, his eyes wide. He did it. Lysera rushed in, ignoring the guards. Elias. He turned, smiling faintly. Told you it was just a surge. Her relief came out as a soft laugh. You risked your life. He shrugged. It was worth it. The others in the room stared, shocked not only by his success but by the princess's open worry for him. Later that night, as the crisis ended, the palace gathered to honor those who had helped. Queen Vailora stood before the people and said, "The human engineer's actions prevented great loss today." Her words were formal, but her tone was cold. Elias bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Lysera stood nearby, her heart swelling with quiet pride. But the queen's eyes met her daughter's, and in that glance Lysera saw warning. When the ceremony ended, the queen walked away in silence. The nobles whispered once more, their voices now sharper. Some said, "The human has bravery." Others said, "The princess has lost her sense." By morning, the entire capital had heard the story of the human who saved the palace. That night, Lysera found Elias alone on the balcony near the stars. She stood beside him, her voice soft. "They will not forget what you did today." He smiled quietly. "Nor will they forgive it easily." She looked at him, her heart heavy. "You should not have risked yourself." He turned to her gently. "Maybe I didn't do it just for them." She froze. Their eyes met again. In that moment she understood. And so did he. A feeling neither of them could name filled the air. Something fragile, yet strong enough to face the galaxy. Above them the stars shone silently, as if watching the start of a love the universe itself would soon test. The Palace of Etherian returned to peace after the reactor crisis, but not everyone felt calm. For some, the event had changed everything. The humans were still guests, but now one of them, Elias Ward, had become a symbol of courage and quiet defiance. The people whispered about him in the markets, the soldiers spoke his name with mixed respect and suspicion, and the queen, she watched him closely. In her private chamber, Queen Vailora looked over the reports. "He fixed our reactor," she said softly. "A human saved our palace. But at what cost?" Her chief advisor bowed. "Majesty, some believe the princess's emotions guided him." The queen's eyes hardened. "If that is true, then it must end." Princess Lysera Vailora sat in her crystal garden, surrounded by glowing flowers. Her thoughts were far away. She still remembered the heat of the control chamber, the sound of alarms, and Elias's calm face as he worked to save them all. Since that night, she had not been able to stop thinking about him. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his tired but gentle smile. The garden door opened. Her maid entered quietly. "Your Highness, the Queen requests your presence." Lysera stood. "Now?" "Yes, Princess. It sounds urgent." The royal hall was empty except for the Queen. She stood near the large window, the light from the twin suns outlining her figure. "Mother," Lysera said softly, bowing. "Daughter?" the Queen replied. "Sit." Lysera obeyed, her heart uneasy. The Queen turned to face her, her silver crown shining like ice. "Tell me the truth, Lysera. What is your connection with the human engineer?" Lysera looked down, her hands trembling slightly. "He is my friend, your friend," the Queen repeated slowly. "You are the heir to the Etherian throne. You cannot have a human as your friend." Lysera met her mother's gaze. "He saved our people. He saved this palace."
"Is that not worth respect?"
"Respect, yes," the Queen said coldly. "Attachment, no. You are blinded by emotion. Humans are unpredictable. They will bring nothing but trouble." Lysera's voice was calm but firm. "Elias is not like that. He is kind, he is brave. He asks for nothing in return." The Queen's expression softened for a brief second, then turned sharp again. "Enough, I will not hear more. You will stay away from him." Lysera's heart ached, but she bowed her head. As you command, Mother. But deep inside she knew she could not obey. That night, under the pale light of the moons, Lysera slipped out of her chamber. She moved quietly through hidden corridors, her silver robe trailing softly. She reached the small workshop where Elias often worked alone. The door was half open, the sound of faint humming reaching her ears. He was there, sitting beside a half-repaired console, lost in thought. His face looked tired but peaceful. "Elias," she whispered. He looked up, surprised but not startled. "Lysera, it's late." "I had to see you," she said. "They're watching you now. You must be careful." He nodded slowly. "I know. Your mother made that clear." She walked closer. "She spoke to you?" "Not directly," he said. "But her guards did. They told me I would return to Earth soon. My work here is complete." Lysera froze. "They're sending you away?" He gave a small, sad smile. "It seems so. The peace talks are ending soon and I don't belong here anymore." Lysera felt her heart sink. "No. You belong here more than most who live in this palace." Elias shook his head gently. "This is your world, Lysera. Your royalty." "I'm just an engineer." She looked at him fiercely. "You are more than that. You are the first person who has ever seen me as just me." Elias met her gaze. The air between them felt heavy with unspoken feelings. He said quietly, "And you are the first who has ever seen beyond my weakness." For a moment, neither spoke. The hum of machines filled the silence. Then Lysera stepped closer. "If you go," she said softly, "I will never forgive myself." Elias sighed. "If I stay, your people will never forgive you." She smiled faintly. "Then let them be angry. I don't care." He reached out, hesitating before touching her hand. "You should care. You have a destiny, Lysera." Her eyes glistened. "Maybe my destiny is not what they planned." They stood there, two souls from different worlds, bound by something neither could name but both could feel. At last, Elias whispered, "Lysera, what we feel, it's dangerous." She nodded. "I know, but it's also real." He looked at her for a long moment, then said quietly, "I'll come back. No matter what they decide, I'll find a way to return." She smiled sadly. "Then I will wait for you." The next morning, the Queen's decision was made. The humans would depart within the next 2 cycles. Elias's name was on the official departure list. Lysera tried to remain calm during the announcement, but her heart felt like stone. She stood beside her mother, silent, her expression unreadable. When the meeting ended, she walked through the gardens alone, tears threatening to fall. A familiar voice called softly from behind. "Lysera," she turned. Elias stood there, his travel jacket folded under one arm. The guards were busy nearby, unaware of him. "You shouldn't be here," she said quickly. "I needed to see you one last time," he said. "I couldn't leave without saying goodbye." Lysera stepped closer. "Goodbye is not a word I like," he smiled faintly. "Then let's call it until next time." They stood near the fountain where they had once spoken under the stars. The water shimmered between them. Lysera's voice broke. "Why must it be this way? Why can't our worlds understand?" Elias looked at her gently. "Maybe one day they will. But someone has to be first to try." She blinked away tears. "And you think we are those people?" He nodded slowly. "I think we already are." She reached out, touching his hand softly. "Then promise me one thing, Elias Ward. Promise you will come back." He closed his hand around hers. "I promise." They stood in silence, the night breeze carrying the faint scent of glowing flowers. Then slowly Lysera leaned closer until her forehead touched his. No words were spoken. The moment was pure, honest, and full of meaning. Finally, footsteps echoed down the path. Guards were coming. Elias stepped back quickly. "Go," he whispered. "They can't see you with me." She hesitated, then whispered, "Don't forget your promise." "Never," he said. She turned and disappeared into the shadows just as the guards arrived. Hours later, the human ship lifted off from the royal docking bay. Lysera watched from her balcony, her heart breaking silently. The ship rose higher, glowing like a small star, until it vanished among the clouds. Behind her, the Queen entered quietly. "You care for him," she said softly. Lysera didn't turn. "He is brave, and he is honest." "Those are fine traits," the Queen said, "but they do not make him your equal." Lysera looked at her mother, tears shining in her silver eyes. "No, mother. They make him my choice." The queen's expression hardened. "You are my daughter, heir to this throne. You will not speak of him again." She turned and left, her robes flowing behind her like waves of silver light. Lysera stood alone on the balcony, the stars reflecting in her eyes. "I will see you again, Elias," she whispered to the wind. "No wall, no crown, no law will stop me." Far away in the silence of space, Elias Ward looked back at the fading planet of Etherion. He held a small silver pendant in his hand, a token Lysera had secretly given him before he left. He smiled quietly. "I'll come back, no matter what it takes." And with that silent promise, two hearts separated by galaxies began a journey that would soon shake the Empire itself. The morning sun rose over Etherion, painting the twin towers in shades of gold and silver. The palace was unusually quiet. Even the servants whispered behind closed doors. The reason was clear. Today was no ordinary day. Today, Princess Lysera Valora would face the Queen and the Royal Council in what was called the Trial of the Heart. The palace halls were filled with nobles, guards, and officials, all murmuring among themselves. They had heard the stories about a human who had repaired the palace reactor, about his bravery, and about the princess's secret visits. Some were curious, some were angry. Most were simply eager to see the outcome of this unprecedented trial. Lysera sat in her chamber, preparing for the day. Her heart beat fast, but she did not look afraid. She touched the pendant Elias had given her, a small silver charm shaped like a star. It reminded her of him, of his promise, of the bond they shared. When she entered the grand hall of judgment, the murmurs grew louder. The Queen, Valora, sat on her high throne, her presence commanding and severe. The council, dressed in flowing robes of silver and blue, lined the sides of the hall. Every eye turned toward the princess as she approached. "Princess Lysera," the Queen began, her voice echoing through the marble hall, "you stand accused of emotional corruption. You have allowed a human, an outsider, to influence your heart, and perhaps the future of our empire." The chamber fell silent. Lysera lifted her head, her voice steady. "I have spoken to this human, mother. I have learned from him. I have admired his courage and his kindness, but I have done nothing to harm Etherion or our people." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "Nothing to harm Etherion? You have disobeyed the law of our people. You have risked your reputation, your position, and the dignity of this empire." Lysera took a deep breath. "Mother, I will always respect Etherion and our people, but I will not deny my feelings. I cannot lie about my heart." The council shifted uneasily. They had never seen the princess speak like this in public. Nobles whispered to each other. Some admired her courage. Others feared it. A herald entered the hall announcing, "Elias Ward, human engineer, is requested to appear before the trial." The doors of the chamber swung open, and to everyone's shock, Elias stepped inside. He had returned to Etherion despite orders to leave. He walked calmly, his human body small compared to the towering aliens, but his presence filled the hall with a quiet confidence. The Queen's eyes flashed with fury. "You, how dare you return?" Elias bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, I promised the princess I would return. I am here to honor that promise." The court was silent. Whispers spread through the chamber. Never had a human dared to enter the royal hall without invitation. Never had anyone returned against the Queen's command. Lysera's eyes filled with hope and relief. "Elias," she whispered, though the words were drowned out by the murmurs. The Queen rose from her throne, her silver robes gleaming in the morning light. "This is a breach of our laws. You will both face judgment. Princess Lysera, you must answer one question. Who is he?" The chamber grew still. Every eye turned toward the princess. The question was clear, the weight immense. Lysera straightened, her voice steady and proud. "He is Elias Ward, the human I chose to be my husband." Gasps echoed through the hall. Nobles leaned forward, guards stiffened, and even the council members looked shocked. A human, the daughter of the Queen, publicly declaring her choice, defying centuries of tradition, and naming the outsider as her future spouse. The Queen's face turned pale with fury. Her voice was sharp, shaking with anger and disbelief. "You dare defy me and the Empire. Do you know what this means?" Lysera did not flinch. "Yes, Mother, I know. But I will not deny my heart. He is brave, honest, and kind. He saved lives. He treats me as a person, not a princess. I chose him, and I stand by my choice. The chamber erupted in murmurs, whispers, and shocked exclamations. Some nobles were outraged. Some were impressed. For the first time in Etherian history, a princess had openly defied tradition for love. Elias stepped forward, kneeling before the queen, not in fear, but in respect. "Your Majesty, I come from a distant world. I have no claim to your throne, no desire for power. But if loving your daughter is a crime, I am ready to bear the consequences." The hall went completely silent. Even the queen faltered at his words. There was something about his bravery, something about his honesty that no one could deny. Lysera's heart swelled. She stepped closer to him, taking his hand in her own. The gesture was simple yet bold. "See, Mother, he is worthy, and I love him." The queen's voice was now calm but cold. "You put your love above duty, above law, above tradition. Do you truly understand the consequences?" Lysera's silver eyes met her mother's, unwavering. "Yes, and I accept them." Outside the palace windows, citizens had gathered, unaware of the trial. But news spread quickly through messages carried by drones and couriers. By midday, the streets were filled with murmurs and growing excitement. People spoke of courage, of love, and of the human who had defied an empire. Some soldiers and guards, inspired by Elias's bravery, whispered among themselves. "He may be human, but his heart is as strong as any warrior," one said. Others worried. "If the princess chooses him, what does that mean for tradition?" In the grand hall, the queen remained silent, her thoughts unreadable. She had spent centuries enforcing the rules, maintaining the strength and pride of Etherian. Yet now she had to face a truth she had not expected. Love, courage, and honesty could challenge even the oldest laws. After long moments, the queen finally spoke, her voice carrying the weight of authority and contemplation. "You, human, have shown courage. You, princess, have shown conviction. And both of you have forced me to reconsider what strength truly is." The council members looked stunned. Nobles whispered urgently. Some believed the queen might finally relent. She continued. "Perhaps for centuries we believed that power and tradition alone made our empire strong. Perhaps we were wrong. True strength lies in the heart. Courage, loyalty, and honesty are what guide our people through the darkest times." Lysera and Elias held each other's hands tightly. Neither spoke. They knew this moment was dangerous yet filled with hope. Finally, the queen sat back on her throne. "I cannot undo your feelings, nor will I allow you to hide your bond. But know this, your choice will change the empire forever. It will be tested. You must be ready." Lysera bowed deeply. "I understand, Mother, and I accept it." Elias stood beside her, small in size but immense in courage. "And I stand with her." The hall erupted, not in anger but in a mixture of shock and admiration. Some nobles whispered approval, some whispered fear, and the people outside, once uncertain, now felt hope stirring in their hearts. That evening, the princess and the human walked together in the palace gardens. The moons reflected in the fountains, creating a silver glow that made the world feel quiet and safe. "You did it," Lysera said softly. "You returned. You stood with me." Elias smiled faintly. "I promised I would. I could not leave you." She looked at him, her silver eyes glimmering. "And now the world knows. There is no turning back, no," he said. "But that is good. Because what we have, it is stronger than tradition, stronger than fear." Lysera leaned her head on his shoulder. "Do you think the Empire will ever accept us?" Elias held her close. "One day, but for now we face the world together. That is enough." Above them, the stars of Etherian twinkled as if watching two hearts brave enough to challenge centuries of law and tradition. And somewhere deep in the palace, the queen watched from her chambers, thoughtful and silent. She understood that change had begun, and for the first time she wondered. Maybe love could make an empire stronger than fear ever could. The palace of Etherian was alive with anticipation. Word of Princess Lysera Valora's choice had spread throughout the empire. Nobles, soldiers, and citizens alike crowded the grand halls, eager to witness what many called a historic moment. The twin suns shone high in the sky, reflecting off crystal towers, making the city glitter like a field of diamonds. Inside the grand hall of celebration, preparations were underway for the princess's union with Elias Ward. Though the marriage ceremony would be symbolic for now, it was meant to signal a new era, one in which courage, honesty, and love could cross boundaries once considered impossible. Lysera stood near the central dais, her silver gown glowing softly. Her heart beat with both excitement and anxiety. Today everything would change. For her, for Elias, and for the Empire. Elias arrived quietly, escorted by a few loyal guards who respected his bravery. Though smaller in stature than the Etherian nobles, he carried himself with quiet confidence, his human presence radiating courage that made even the tallest alien pause. Lysera's silver eyes lit up when she saw him. He smiled faintly, holding out his hand. "Shall we face the world together?" She took his hand without hesitation. "Always," she whispered. They stepped forward together, moving toward the dais. The crowd fell silent. For the first time, the future of Etherian felt uncertain and thrilling all at once. At the front of the hall, Queen Vailora sat upon her throne. Her expression was unreadable, a mixture of authority, curiosity, and something softer, perhaps understanding. She raised her hand and the room went quiet. "You have all gathered here," she began, her voice carrying through the hall, "to witness a choice that breaks tradition. Yet in this choice we may find the strength that has been missing from our empire." She paused, scanning the faces of nobles and citizens alike. "Princess Lysera has chosen a human Elias Ward as her companion and partner. Many may question this. Some may fear it. But what he has shown, courage, honesty, and loyalty, is what makes a true bond." The hall murmured in disbelief. Many were shocked, but others, especially the younger citizens and guards, felt hope stirring in their hearts. The Queen continued, her voice steady now. "If love can guide even the strongest heart, then it must be honored, not punished. Today we witness not only a union of two souls, but also a new understanding of what makes an empire strong." Lysera gasped softly. She had not expected her mother to speak with approval. Elias bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, I do not come seeking power. I come only to stand by the princess I love. Whatever the future holds, I will serve her and her people with honesty and courage." The Queen nodded slowly, her silver eyes studying him. "Then rise, human. Today you are recognized not for your origins, but for your heart and deeds." For a moment, Elias felt the weight of the Empire's gaze upon him. Then slowly he straightened. He looked at Lysera, who held his hand tightly. "I am ready," he whispered. Lysera smiled softly. "As am I." The ceremony began simply but beautifully. Silver and crystal light reflected across the hall. Citizens and nobles watched as Lysera and Elias stood together on the dais. Their hands remained intertwined, a symbol of courage and commitment. The officiant, a wise elder of the Empire, spoke clearly. "Today we witness the joining of two hearts from different worlds. In courage, honesty, and love may they find unity. May their bond show the strength of understanding, and may it guide Etherian toward a brighter future." Lysera turned to Elias. "Do you accept this bond, knowing it may challenge the Empire?" Elias met her gaze unwavering. "I do, for nothing is stronger than the truth of the heart." She smiled, tears glimmering. "And I accept you, Elias Ward, as my partner, my equal and my chosen companion." The crowd held its breath. Then slowly applause began. One by one, people clapped, guards, citizens, and even some of the nobles. The sound grew louder, echoing through the hall, a wave of hope and approval. After the ceremony, the Queen stood and addressed the audience once more. Her voice carried authority, but also pride. "Let today be remembered as the moment when courage and love overcame fear. Let it remind us that even the smallest being can change the course of history with honesty, loyalty, and bravery." Lysera and Elias looked at each other, relief and happiness shining in their eyes. They knew this was only the beginning, but they also knew they had won the hardest challenge. They had earned the acceptance of the Empire, bit by bit, heart by heart. The Queen approached her daughter, her expression softening. "Lysera," she said quietly, "you have shown that your heart can guide the Empire better than fear ever could. You have chosen wisely." Lysera bowed deeply. "Thank you, Mother. Your wisdom and guidance always lead me." The Queen smiled faintly. "And now, lead with love." Days passed, and the story of the princess and the human spread across the Empire. People began to admire Elias not for his origin, but for his courage and honesty. Citizens spoke of him with respect. Guards learned to trust his decisions. Nobles slowly accepted the bond as a symbol of hope rather than rebellion. Even distant worlds who had observed Etherion began to take notice. Humans, once considered weak, now inspired admiration and curiosity. The Empire had changed, Not through war or conquest, but through courage, loyalty, and love. Lysera and Elias spent long hours together, learning from one another. She showed him the wonders of Etherian's technology and culture. He shared stories of Earth, its forests, oceans, storms, and people. Through their bond, both worlds learned to respect and admire each other. Differences became strengths, not weaknesses. Curiosity replaced suspicion. Honesty replaced fear. And love became the bridge between stars. One evening, as they walked under the twin moons, Lysera looked up at Elias. "Do you remember our first night in the workshop?" He smiled faintly. "How could I forget? You asked why I fixed a broken machine no one cared about." She laughed softly. "And you said, because everything deserves a chance." "Everything," he said. "Even two worlds." They held hands, the silver light of the moons reflecting in their eyes. The Empire had witnessed the courage of a human and the love of a princess. And now, a new chapter had begun. A chapter where hearts, not fear, guided the path forward. Months later, the Empire celebrated a festival in honor of the princess and the human. Citizens from every corner of Etherian gathered to watch the pair stand together, side by side. The Queen, standing proudly beside them, declared, "Let all remember that courage can come from anywhere, and love can bridge even the greatest divide. Today, we honor not only a union of two hearts, but also a union of understanding, trust, and hope for the future of Etherian." Lysera and Elias exchanged a glance, their hands tightly clasped. They knew that the road ahead would have challenges, but nothing could break the bond they had forged, through courage, honesty, and love. The stars of Etherian shone brighter that night, as if celebrating the promise of a future built on the hearts of two brave souls. And somewhere, in the quiet of the palace gardens, Lysera whispered softly, "No matter the world, no matter the law, I chose him, and he chose me." Elias smiled, his eyes reflecting the light of the twin moons. "And together we will face everything." The crowd cheered. The Empire rejoiced, and two hearts, one human, one princess, stood united, changing not only their own lives but the destiny of an entire civilization.